Hello and welcome. This is Ameco and you're watching our daily updates live from Bahar Dar, Ethiopia. I am Gaila Damu. Stay tuned. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed conferred with Board of Ethiopian Investment Holdings today to assess Ethio Telecom's readiness to go public and to evaluate the Capital Markets Authority's progress in operationalizing the capital markets. The Prime Minister tweeted that the introduction of a stock market and exchange in Ethiopia is poised to be a game changer, supporting Ethiopia in achieving its growth aspirations and attracting new capital. According to Abiy, introduction of a stock market and exchange marks an exciting chapter for the nation. Finance Minister Ahmed Shideh met with U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Ambassador Molly Fee, the Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Ambassador Michael Hammer, and U.S. Ambassador to Ethiopia, Erwin Masinga. On the occasion, the minister briefed the U.S. delegation on Ethiopia's economic situation, prospects, and ongoing macroeconomic reforms critical for growth and jobs. According to the Ministry of Finance, the two sides held constructive discussions on working together to address Ethiopia's post-conflict economic recovery and humanitarian needs, including mobilizing such support through the IMF and World Bank. According to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the successful hosting of the recently concluded African Summit underscores Ethiopia's unwavering commitment to upholding continental aspiration. Zelalem Ibeltal has the details.
Briefing the media, State Ministers Misganu Arega and Birtukan Ayano lauded the successful conduct of the summit and Ethiopia's contribution to addressing pressing issues across Africa. Foreign State Minister Misganu Arega noted that among the key topics deliberated upon were education, peace and security in the continent. Misganu stressed the crucial link between Ethiopia's national interest and the summit's agenda, stating that discussions held in the session, along with the resulting resolutions, addressed critical issues facing the continent were aligned with Ethiopia's priorities. According to Misganu, Ethiopia presented and explained on the progress made in implementing the Pretoria Agreement, emphasizing the necessity for steadfast commitment to its full realization. The summit also witnessed a significant step forward for Ethiopia's economic integration within the African Continental Free Trade Area by approving the country's proposed goods tariff and paving the way for Ethiopia to join the 9 African nations trading under the African Continental Free Trade Area framework. Moreover, the State Minister highlighted Ethiopia's achievement in the agricultural sector, especially its exemplary wheat production and the Yelimat to Rifat program showcased during the summit. Addressing inquiries regarding the Ethio-Somaliland Memorandum of Understanding, Misganu reiterated Ethiopia's clear foreign policy objectives with its neighbors and its unwavering commitment to regional cooperation and integration. The State Minister added that the Memorandum of Understanding aligns with the nation's long-standing principles of fostering regional cooperation for development within a rule-based and mutually beneficial framework. State Minister Birtukan Ayano focused on the logistical and protocol aspects of the summit and declared the whole process of the African Union Summit was a resounding success on all fronts. She pointed out the peaceful conclusion, meticulous protocol adherence and seamless provision of accommodations and other service for more than 8,000 delegates from 49 African countries was lauded as a hallmark of the government's remarkable planning and execution. It was learned that the summit saw the participation of 31 head of states and 6 vice presidents. According to the state minister, the arrival of 54 chartered airplanes carrying participants to Bole International Airport was handled with remarkable efficiency. Birtukan also highlighted the introduction of sightseeing opportunities for guests and diplomats, including visit and dinner program to the newly unveiled Adwa Victory Memorial Museum. Birtukan reiterated the immense success of the summit on all parameters, emphasizing its contribution to both Ethiopia and the continent. Following the preparation made for over 3 months, the summit concluded successfully, and all sectors have greatly contributed to the success of the whole process. During the summit, our country is respected and elevated by hosting this very successful summit. Looking forward, the State Minister vowed for continuous improvement and the introduction of innovative elements to further enhance Ethiopia's hosting capabilities in the future.
Former AU Commission Chairperson Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma stressed that education must be one of the apex priorities in every country to ensure sustainable development and peace in the African continent. Modomluye has more on it.
This year's African Union Summit was held under the theme Building Resilient Education Systems for Increased Access to Inclusive, Lifelong, Quality and Relevant Learning in Africa at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Speaking to Ethiopian news agency, Dlamini Zuma said the theme of the 37th Ordinary Summit of the Heads of State and Government of the African Union is very important as it paid attention to education. Dlamini stressed that African countries need to ensure that children get education and skills. Dlamini indicated that member states must understand and emphasize to invest in education.
Education is an investment into the future and into the economic development of the country. You can't build infrastructure without skilled people. You need engineers, energy, you need engineers, everything. You need skilled people. So education must be one of the apex priorities in every country.
Noting that the African continent has ample resources, including minerals, water, and other natural resources, Zuma said, if we don't have skilled people to turn those into wealth for the continent, it is useless. Zuma also stressed that each member state must take responsibility and make sure that they allocate the highest budget for education, and the rest must come next. Talking of challenges of peace and stability on the continent, Dlamini Zuma elaborated that peace and security is very critical for the development of Africa, because if there is no peace, there is no development.
But it's not only important for development. You know, when there is conflict, women and children are the ones who suffer most. And so it means then that the women and children may be displaced, children may not go to school. So it has a lot of implications for the development of the country. So it is very critical that we try and silence the guns.
Zuma also elaborated that the international community must understand the African Union must participate in all the structures in peace and security matters.
The international community must understand Africa is there. Africa must participate in all the structures in peace and security. It must participate in the permanent membership. It must participate everywhere.
Zuma said the international system adheres to the United Nations Charter, where all nations are equal and where everyone has a right and dignity. And we cannot exclude such a big continent of humanity out of the system.
UN Environment Programme Executive Director Inger Andersen said that Ethiopia is a good example in Africa where big push forward has been seen on tree planting.
The United Nations Environment Programme Executive Director, who participated at the 37th Ordinary Summit of AU, told Ethiopian news agency that Ethiopia has been planting billions of trees that will fix the soil and create greater nutrients in it as a crucial and pragmatic response to mitigate the climate catastrophe in the country and beyond. The Green Legacy Initiative being implemented in Ethiopia was launched by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in June 2019 and has so far planted over 32.5 billion tree seedlings. So Anderson stated that
let's take, for example, Ethiopia, where a big push forward has been on tree planting. Now, this is very interesting. It'll fix the soil, it'll create greater nutrients in the soil, it'll prevent landslides, and it will get greater water absorption.
According to Anderson, these kinds of environmental programs and projects are good not only for the local, but also for the global economy. And we are very pleased to see those kinds of initiatives here in Ethiopia. Anderson further stated that major crises have been occurring as a result of climate change, particularly hard hitting on Africa.
And in the environment field, we speak about three crises. One crisis being the climate crisis, another crisis being the nature, the desertification crisis. We are losing nature, we are losing our agricultural lands, and we are seeing desertification. And the third crisis being pollution and waste. Now, these three crises are particularly hard hitting on Africa. Climate change, Africa did very little to cause climate change, but Africa is suffering big time.
Anderson further revealed that the United Nations is supporting Ethiopia as well as the entire continent with investments with smart policy shifts. The executive director underscored that the United Nations is firm about the imperative of climate justice and the imperative of climate finance. Anderson also mentioned the recent loss and damage fund with $800 million United States dollar, which she believes is not enough. The executive director stressed that we need to see plans.
As we proceed to news beyond borders, 11 of the world's 20 most economically dynamic countries are in Africa this year. According to a macroeconomic report by the African Development Bank in 2024, Africa will emerge at the top of the list of the 20 nations with the most dynamic economic growth. The report reveals a gradual improvement in medium-term growth prospects across the continent's 5 regions, reflecting the continued resilience of African economies. With sustained growth forecast for 2024 exceeding the projected global average, Africa is positioned as the second fastest growing region after Asia. 11 of the 20 most economically dynamic countries will be in Africa that year, according to the latest edition of the African Development Bank's African Macroeconomic Performance and Prospects Report. The continent's real gross domestic product GDP growth rate is expected to average 3.8% this year and 4.2% in 2025, outpacing global average estimates of 2.9% and 3.2% respectively. Despite a difficult global and regional economic environment, 15 African countries posted output growth in excess of 5%. The climate and debt challenge require particular attention, as the Zimbabwean Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Mutuli Nikube, pointed out that internal reforms and discussions with creditors are essential to maintain sustainable economic growth, as Africa Press Agency reported it. Grammy-nominated Nigerian musician Davido has announced plans to donate a sum of 300 million naira to orphanages around Nigeria. Davido made... That's all the news we have for today. I'm Gaila Damu. Thanks for watching and stay tuned with the rest of our programs.